I stood outside the cafe, pretending to scroll on my phone while watching my son through the window. His hands moved fast but careful as he worked the espresso machine, muscle memory guiding him through the evening rush. Steam hissed, cups clinked, customers lined up. And there he was, focused, calm, polite like he always was. His name is Daniel. He's 20 years old. Top student in computer science at the University of British Columbia. Perfect grades. Scholarships. Internship offers already waiting. And still, he worked 20 hours a week at this cafe. The December wind cut straight through my coat, but I barely noticed. Pride and worry sat heavy in my chest, tangled together like they always were when I looked at him. It's been just the two of us since he was 4. Since his father, Lucas, died suddenly and left me learning how to be strong without ever feeling ready. I became an engineer because stability mattered. I made good money. Enough that Daniel never needed this job. But Daniel never wanted easy. He wanted earned. My phone buzzed. My sister Marianne. "Claire," she said, her voice too cheerful. "You're still coming tomorrow night, right? Christmas Eve at the house." "Of course," I said. "Daniel and I will be there around 6. Silence. Too long. "Well," she finally said, lowering her voice. Evelyn was wondering if, maybe, it could be adults only this year. My fingers tightened around the phone. Evelyn. Marianne's wife. The woman who inherited half of Vancouver's waterfront and reminded everyone of it in every sentence. "Daniel is 20, I said slowly. "He's not a child." I know, Marianne rushed. "It's just..." Evelyn invited some business partners. Important people. She wants the evening to feel polished. I didn't like where this was going. "What's the real problem?" I asked. Another pause. "Well," Marianne said carefully, "Daniel works at a coffee shop." The words hit harder than I expected. "He works because he pays his own tuition," I snapped. "He has a 4.0 GPA. He's been accepted to 3 tech internships." "I know that," Marianne said. "But they won't. They'll just see service work." I looked back through the glass. Daniel laughed at something an older customer said, handing her a drink like it was the most important task in the world. He had his father's kindness. The kind that made people feel seen. "We'll be there at 6, I said, and hung up before she could respond. That night, I didn't tell Daniel about the call. He was excited. Actually excited. He showed me the shirt he bought for dinner, secondhand, but neatly pressed and hanging straight on his door. "Your sister's place is always so fancy," he said while we shared leftover pasta. "Remember the ice sculpture last year?" I remember. "Do you think Evelyn will like her gift?" he asked. "I saved for that soap set, the French one." Something twisted in my chest. "She'll love it," I said. I hated that I was lying. The next evening, we drove out toward the lake where Marianne and Evelyn had built their mansion, glass, stone, and money in every corner. We arrived early on purpose. I wanted to help, to show respect. Luxury cars lined the driveway. I parked my old sedan between a Porsche and a Tesla. Daniel grabbed the gifts. "Being early is good, right?" "Yes," I said. "It is." I rang the bell. Music floated through the door. Laughter. Crystal glasses clinking. Evelyn opened it. Her smile froze when she saw Daniel. "Claire," she said coolly, "you're early." "We thought we'd help," I said. Her eyes dropped to Daniel's shirt, then back to his face. "Everything's already done," she replied. "Marianne is in the study." She turned to Daniel. "And you," she said, wrinkling her nose slightly, "might want to wait in the garage. Some guests have sensitivities. You smell strongly of coffee." Daniel stiffened. "I showered after work," he said quietly. "I'm sure," Evelyn replied. "But the scent lingers." My blood started to boil. "That won't be necessary," I began. "It's fine, Mom," Daniel said quickly, not looking at me. "I'll wait." Before I could stop him, he walked away toward the side of the house. Evelyn smiled again. Empty. Satisfied. "Marianne is waiting," she said. And that was the moment. The moment I should have followed my son. The moment I should have walked out. But instead, I stepped inside, and everything began to fall apart. The house smelled like money, not warmth, not home, money. Champagne, catered food, expensive perfume layered so thick it made my head ache. People I didn't know filled the living room, laughing too loudly, touching each other's arms like every sentence was a performance. I walked past them, my smile tight, my stomach burning. Mary Ann was in her study, phone pressed to her ear. She waved me in without looking at me, held up one finger. I waited. Her office walls were lined with photos, Mary Ann and Evelyn on yachts, at charity galas, dressed like magazine covers. Their kids, Sophie and Noah, smiling beside luxury cars that cost more than my annual salary when I'd started out. No pictures of Daniel. No pictures of Lucas. No pictures of the life we used to share. She hung up and turned to me. Claire, listen. Why is my son in the garage? I asked. She flinched. It's just for a little while, she said. Evelyn's nervous about the investors. He's your nephew. I know, she said quickly. And I love him. But these people, they judge. Appearances matter to them. So Daniel is an embarrassment now? No, she said, rubbing her temples. Just inconvenient. I stared at her, searching for the sister I grew up with. The one who cried with me at Lucas's funeral. The one who promised Daniel she'd always protect him. When did you decide this was acceptable? I asked. She didn't answer. Where are your kids? I asked instead. Upstairs, she said. The photographer's doing family photos. Family. I turned and walked out before I said something I couldn't take back. The garage was spotless. Heated. Brighter than most apartments. 5 cars stood lined up like trophies. Daniel sat on a folding chair near the back, holding a plastic-wrapped sandwich. Half eaten. Hey, Mom, he said, trying to smile. Failing. Found food in the fridge. My chest tightened. What happened? I asked, kneeling in front of him. Nothing, he said too quickly. I'm just waiting. He looked away. Sophie came out earlier, he added softly. She laughed. Asked if I was staff. My hands curled into fists. We're leaving, I said. No, he said immediately. Please don't. Daniel. I don't want to cause problems, he said. It's okay. I'm used to it. Used to it. The words landed like a punch. Since when? I asked. He hesitated. Since Evelyn married Mary Ann, he admitted. Last Christmas. Remember when I spilled juice? She made me eat in the kitchen. The year before that, Sophie and Noah got laptops. I got a keychain. A keychain? I whispered. Still had the price tag, he said. $3.99. Something inside me cracked. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. He shrugged. I didn't want you to lose your sister. I pulled him into my arms. He was taller than me now. Stronger. But in that moment he felt small again. You are not the problem, I said fiercely. You never were. We stayed there for 15 more minutes. Finally, Evelyn appeared. You can come in now, she said briskly. Please don't draw attention. I said nothing. Inside, the room fell quiet when we entered. Eyes flicked over us. Judgments formed instantly. Mary Ann pulled me aside, introducing me to people who barely listened. One man yawned while I explained my work. I kept watching Daniel. Evelyn guided him to a chair near the kitchen door. Away from everyone. Dinner was announced. Place cards waited on a table long enough to seat an army. I found mine, far end. Daniel's, last seat. Beside the server's path. I picked them both up and moved them to the center. Evelyn appeared instantly. Those seats are reserved. For who? I asked. Investors. Then move them. Her eyes hardened. This is not how things work. It is tonight, I said. The room buzzed with quiet tension. And as we sat down, I knew this dinner wasn't ending peacefully. Dinner unfolded like a staged performance. Course after course arrived. Food too fancy to enjoy. Portions too large to finish. Conversations floated around me about investments, private schools, ski properties. I nodded when expected, smiled when required. But my attention never left Daniel. He sat quietly, shoulders slightly hunched, eating like he was afraid of taking up space. Every time a server brushed past him, he apologized, even when it wasn't his fault. Across the table, Sophie whispered something to her friends. They laughed. "Careful," she said loudly, smirking. "At least he knows how to handle trays." A few guests chuckled. Daniel's ears turned red. I inhaled sharply. Before I could speak, Marianne cleared her throat. "Sophie, that's enough." Sophie shrugged.
What?
"It's true. He works at a cafe." "That job pays for his education," Marianne said stiffly. "There's nothing shameful about that." Evelyn placed her hand on Marianne's arm. "Darling, don't make this awkward." "Awkward," Marianne said. Evelyn turned to Daniel. "If you're embarrassed by your work, perhaps you should aim higher." The table went silent. I stood up. The chair scraped loudly against the floor. "Aim higher," I repeated. Evelyn blinked, surprised. "Yes," she said coolly. "We all make choices." I laughed once.
Short.
Bitter. "Like buying your children success?"
I asked. "How dare you?" she snapped.
"Your daughter is 16, I said. She drives a luxury car and barely passes her classes. Your son needed a donor wing added to his school after he was caught cheating." Gasps rippled around the table. "My son," I continued, voice steady, "works 20 hours a week while holding perfect grades. He pays his own bills, buys his own clothes, and still had the kindness to bring you a gift bought with money he earned honestly." I walked to Daniel and placed my hands on his shoulders. "He is worth more than every person at this table combined," I said, "because he understands effort, respect, humility." Evelyn stood abruptly. "Get out of my house."
Gladly.
I looked at Marianne. "You can come with us," I said quietly. "Or you can stay." She didn't move. Something inside me went numb. We turned to leave. "Take your gifts," Evelyn called after us. "We don't need charity." I stopped. Near the door stood a towering champagne display. Perfect, fragile, expensive. I lifted one glass from the bottom. "Don't," Evelyn warned. I did. The tower collapsed in slow motion. Glass shattered. Champagne flooded the floor. Gasps turned to screams. Silence followed. "My son serves coffee to build a future," I said calmly. "Your kids can't even serve themselves." We walked out into the cold night. Daniel laughed breathlessly once we reached the car. "That was intense." "I should have done it sooner," I said. "I'm sorry. You did it when it mattered," he replied. That night, we went home, ordered pizza, watched an old movie, slept on the couch, and I thought it was over. I was wrong. For 3 days, my phone stayed silent. No calls, no messages, no apologies. On the 4th day, an email arrived, not from Marianne, but from a lawyer. Very polite, very cold. According to the email, I owed $4,300 for property damage, including a ruined rug and broken champagne glasses. Payment options were attached. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I closed my laptop and made a call of my own. My lawyer's response was short and devastating. If they pursued payment, we would counter, formally, detailing years of documented emotional mistreatment of my son. Witnesses, messages, patterns of behavior, public records. The email was never mentioned again. Neither was Marianne. Winter turned into spring. Life moved forward. Daniel finished his semester with perfect grades. In March, he got the call he'd been hoping for, an internship offer from one of the biggest tech companies in the country. He tried to act calm when he told me. He failed. I cried openly. One Saturday in April, I was in the garage fixing a loose panel on my car when another vehicle pulled into the driveway. Marianne's. I didn't look up. She stood there for a moment before speaking. "This used to be your space," she said quietly. "Even when we were kids." "What do you want?" I asked. "To talk." "It took you 4 months." "I know." Her voice cracked. "Evelyn and I are divorcing." That got my attention. I straightened slowly. She's been having an affair, Marianne said. For 2 years. With her business partner. The same people she humiliated Daniel for. She laughed once hollow. Turns out I was disposable too. I said nothing. I was a coward, she continued. I chose comfort over character. And I lost everything anyway. I finally faced her. You didn't fail me, I said. You failed him. She nodded. I know. Silence stretched. If you want forgiveness, I said finally. You don't ask me. She swallowed. Can I talk to him? He's at work, I said. Same cafe. He finishes at 4. She nodded and left. That evening, Daniel came home thoughtful. She apologized, he said. Really apologize. And I asked. I told her I'd forgive her, he said, if she proves she's changed. I smiled. That's who he is. Slowly, Marianne did the work. Showed up. Listened. Learned. She downsized. Sold the mansion. Moved into a modest condo closer to the city. She rebuilt her relationship with her kids, this time without buying their affection. Daniel thrived. His internship turned into a full-time offer before the summer even ended. One night, sitting on our small back deck, he raised his beer and grinned. I'm proud of myself, he said. You should be, I replied. You earned every bit of it. I learned it from you, he said. I shook my head. You learned it from watching how people should be treated. We watched the sun set over our quiet street. It wasn't a mansion. It wasn't impressive, but it was honest. And that Christmas Eve, the garage, the folding chair, the sandwich, it changed everything. It taught my son that his worth was never up for debate. And it taught me something too. If you don't stand up for your children, the world will teach them they're small. And that is something I will never allow. A year passed faster than I expected. Life didn't suddenly become perfect, but it became honest. Daniel graduated at the top of his class. When his name was called, I stood up without realizing it, clapping until my hands hurt. He scanned the crowd, found me, and smiled. The same smile he used to give me when he was little and scared, trusting that I was there. 2 weeks later, he started his full-time job. Same city, same kid, bigger future. But what made me proud wasn't the company name or the salary. It was how he treated people. He still said thank you to everyone. Still learned names. Still helped new hires without being asked. Still talked to janitors like they were executives. One afternoon, I picked him up after work. You know, he said casually, the security guard asked me why I'm always so polite. And I asked. I told him because no job is small. Only people make things small. I swallowed hard and focused on the road. Marianne came over for dinner that night. Nothing fancy. Burgers on the grill. Store-bought buns. Laughter that didn't feel forced. She told us she'd set up education accounts for her kids, not trust funds. Conditions included grades, part-time jobs, and accountability. They need to learn what Daniel already knows, she said. That nothing meaningful is handed to you. Daniel smiled politely. Changed the subject. That's another thing about him. He never needed revenge. He never needed applause. He just needed dignity. Sometimes late at night I think back to that garage. The folding chair. The sandwich. The way my son tried to make himself smaller so other people could feel bigger. And I think about the moment I finally stood up. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just firmly. Because that's the moment everything shifted. I learned that silence can be just as cruel as words. That peace at the cost of your child's self-worth isn't peace at all. And that love sometimes means being willing to burn bridges you hoped would never need to be crossed. Daniel still works hard. Still stays humble. Still believes character matters more than comfort. And I still remind myself, money fades. Status changes. But the way you make your children feel about themselves, that stays forever. If there's one thing I hope anyone listening takes away from this, it's this. Stand up for your children. Even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it costs you something. Because they're watching. They're learning. And one day, they'll remember who stood beside them. When they needed it most.